It's 2024, and Big Pharma is still playing the same ruthless game. Except now, they're doing it on an even bigger scale. From insulin, a drug that's been around for over a century, to Ozempic, the latest weight loss craze, pharmaceutical giants are price gouging like never before. But how do they get away with it? Today, we're exposing the shocking tactics these companies use to keep drug prices sky high, the hidden loopholes they exploit, and how it's costing patients their health, their savings, and sometimes even their lives. The never-ending insulin crisis. For years, insulin has been the poster child of pharmaceutical price gouging, and in 2024, the situation remains dire, despite some government intervention. While the Inflation Reduction Act capped insulin prices for Medicare patients at $35 per month, millions of uninsured and privately insured Americans still face exorbitant costs. Major pharmaceutical companies, Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, and Sanofi, continue to dominate the market, using patent extensions and minimal formula tweaks to maintain their monopolies. But here's the kicker. Insulin costs just a few dollars to produce, yet Americans still pay hundreds per month, sometimes even choosing between insulin and groceries. While some companies announced price cuts to insulin, they conveniently leave out that these cuts mainly apply to outdated formulas, while newer, more effective versions remain sky high in price. The game hasn't changed, just the PR tactics. Ozempic and the weight loss drug gold rush. Ozempic, originally designed for diabetics, has become a cultural phenomenon thanks to its weight loss benefits. With celebrities and influencers flaunting their transformations, demand has skyrocketed. Novo Nordisk, the manufacturer, wasted no time capitalizing on this trend, hiking prices and ensuring that insurance companies remain hesitant to cover it for non-diabetics. As a result, patients in need, those with type 2 diabetes, are struggling to access the drug while the wealthy can easily pay out of pocket. And let's talk about supply shortages. Despite record profits, Novo Nordisk has failed to meet demand, creating artificial scarcity that justifies keeping prices high. It's a classic Big Pharma move, turning a life-saving drug into an elite privilege. The EpiPen scandal, a case study in greed. Remember the EpiPen controversy a few years back? That wasn't a one-time scandal. Milan, now part of Viatris, jacked up the price of this life-saving allergy medication by over 500% in just a few years. And in 2024, it's still far more expensive in the US than anywhere else in the world. Even after the outrage, generic competitors struggle to make a dent in the market thanks to strategic lobbying, lawsuits, and aggressive patent extensions. A single EpiPen 2-pack, which costs around $30 in other countries, still goes for over $600 in the US Big Pharma's message. If you have severe allergies, you better be rich or lucky. Why are Americans paying more? The US remains one of the only developed countries that allows pharmaceutical companies to set their own prices without government negotiation. Countries like Canada and the UK have price controls, meaning people pay a fraction of what Americans do for the exact same drugs. The pharmaceutical lobby spends millions each year to ensure this remains the case. Politicians on both sides take donations from Big Pharma, leading to weak regulation, endless legal loopholes, and little accountability. The industry argues that high prices fuel innovation, but let's be real. Most research is funded by taxpayer dollars through grants and universities. Yet the public sees no return on that investment, just sky-high prices. Tactics used to inflate prices. Big Pharma has long been accused of using manipulative tactics to maximize profits, often at the expense of patients who rely on life-saving medications. While many industries engage in price hikes, Big Pharma's actions are particularly egregious due to their far-reaching consequences on public health and access to care. Below are some of the key tactics used by the pharmaceutical industry to maintain its dominance and inflate drug prices. Evergreening is one of the most common tactics used by drug manufacturers. This involves slightly altering a drug's formula or making minimal changes to its delivery method to extend the patent, often for many years. By doing so, companies can effectively block generic competitors from entering the market, allowing them to maintain high prices despite the availability of cheaper alternatives. The result is that patients end up paying premium prices for drugs that are not significantly more effective than the original version. Another tactic is pay-for-delay deals, which occur when brand-name drug companies pay generic manufacturers to delay the release of a cheaper version of a drug. These arrangements allow the brand-name company to keep its drug on the market at a high price, while consumers are denied access to more affordable generics. These deals have been criticized for prolonging monopolies and restricting competition in the pharmaceutical market. Lobbying and political influence are also central to Big Pharma's strategy for preserving high drug prices. The industry spends billions of dollars lobbying lawmakers and government officials to block any legislation that could introduce fair pricing or increase transparency in the market. For instance, pharmaceutical companies often push to kill proposals that would allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices, as this could drive prices down and reduce their profits. Their influence over policymakers ensures that drug pricing remains largely unregulated, despite widespread public outcry. In addition to these tactics, direct-to-consumer advertising is another method used to boost demand for medications and justify higher prices. The US is one of the few countries where pharmaceutical companies are allowed to advertise prescription drugs directly to consumers. This creates artificial demand for drugs that may not be necessary, prompting patients to ask their doctors for specific medications. The result is an increase in prescriptions and a subsequent rise in prices. Finally, artificial shortages are sometimes engineered by drug manufacturers to justify price hikes. By intentionally limiting the supply of a drug, companies can create a sense of scarcity, which drives up demand and allows them to charge higher prices. These shortages are particularly damaging in the case of life-saving medications, where access is critical. Fighting back. Is there any hope? Despite these blatant abuses, there are some signs of change. Public outrage has forced lawmakers to take baby steps, like insulin caps for Medicare patients and minor transparency laws. Grassroots movements are growing, with patients importing meds from Canada and Mexico, and some states pushing for their own price control laws. But make no mistake, Big Pharma won't go down without a fight. As long as profits outweigh human lives, they'll continue finding ways to exploit the system. The question is, will Americans keep accepting it, or will we finally demand real reform? The battle is far from over. No matter how many promises are made or how much public outrage there is, Big Pharma keeps finding new ways to inflate prices and maximize profits at the expense of people who desperately need these medications. The question is, how long will we let them get away with it? If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button, subscribe for more investigative deep dives, and let's discuss in the comments, should governments step in and regulate drug prices, or is there another solution? Let's talk.